Skippers of the Lama ferry disaster are punished with jail time. Expect to pay more for using the Tai Lam and Western Harbor tunnels. And Islamic State beheads 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians in Libya. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The two captains at the center of the deadly 2012 Lama ferry disaster have been sentenced. Hong Kong and Kowloon ferry captain Lai Sai-ming was punished with an 8-year jail sentence. Chow Chi-wai, the captain of Hong Kong Electric's Lama 4, was handed a 9-month prison sentence. Both companies issued statements saying they respect the court's decision. Owen Fung has our top story.
On Saturday, the skipper of Hong Kong and Kowloon ferries Sea Smooth, Lai Sai-ming, was found guilty of 39 counts of manslaughter and 1 count of endangering the safety of others at sea. The captain of Hong Kong Electric's Lama 4, Chow Chi-wai, was found guilty of 1 count of endangering the safety of others at sea. Today, they learned their fate. In mitigation, Chow's lawyer Gerard McCoy said the 58-year-old's colleagues described him as a responsible, calm and safe person. He added Chow's been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and depression and has been overwhelmed with feelings of moral responsibility. McCoy also stressed Chow tried to turn the vessel before the collision and that he was a victim of Sea Smooth's appallingly dangerous navigation. Meanwhile, Lai's lawyer Audrey Campbell Moffat said her client is a man of good character who's been at sea for almost all of his life. Soon after the collision, she said the 58-year-old tried to contact the Marine Department. He also took his passengers to Yongxu-wan on Lama Island to prevent further casualties. She added there could be other reasons that led to the death of the passengers without elaborating. In sentencing, Justice Brian Keith said Lai's conviction means that he contributed substantially to the deaths. He stated that Lai's actions fell way below the standard of professionalism required for navigating the busy waters. Lai was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment for 39 counts of manslaughter and another 18 months for 1 count of endangering the lives of others at sea. The 2 sentences will be served concurrently. In sentencing Chow, Keith said the Lama 4 captain failed to take adequate action to avoid the collision. But he noted the danger was mainly created by Lai and Chow was only culpable for failing to react quickly enough. Chow was sentenced to 9 months in prison for 1 count of endangering the safety of others at sea. In concluding the trial, Justice Brian Keith offered his personal condolences to families of the victims, noting that no one can begin to understand the indescribable pain they've suffered. He hopes that the outcome of the trial can help them to move on to the next phase of their lives. Owen Fung, TVB News.
Motorists using 2 of Hong Kong's tunnels will have to dig deeper beginning Sunday. In short, all motorists, except for those riding motorcycles, will pay an additional $5 to use the Western Harbor Tunnel and an extra $4 to use the Tai Lam Tunnel. Tunnel operators say the increase was necessary to offset maintenance, electricity, and labor. The chief executive's office is denying accusations by a local magazine of a possible conflict of interest. Evelyn Leung has details.
A next media report has accused Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying of being involved in the Chinese Estates Holdings chairman's donation to a Swedish medical university. Lau Ming-wai is said to have donated $50 million to Karolinska Institutet after speaking to the CE. The magazine report claimed the donation was all Leung's doing to pave way for his son, who is currently undertaking postdoctoral research at the university. In a statement, the chief executive's office said the SAR's top leader acts as a super connector linking the Chinese mainland to the rest of the world. And this was one such case, as Leung introduced Karolinska Institutet to the businessman. The chief executive's office said Lau expressed interest after speaking to the CE and subsequently liaised with the university by himself. The statement did reveal that Leung did mention to Lau that his son was doing research at the university, but the CE had already declared this fact within the government. The statement also pointed out that the admission of the chief executive's son into the university is an independent decision by the institution, and Leung plays no role and holds no position at the Ming Wai Lau Center on the university campus. The statement described as completely unfounded Nix Media's accusation that the donation made by Lau reflects the intricate relationship between the chief executive and powerful individuals, and that Leung is paving way for his son. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Elsewhere tonight, Egyptian warplanes have struck Islamic State targets in Libya a day after the militant group released a gruesome video claiming to show the beheading of 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians. The strikes were launched just hours after the extremist group released a video showing the beheadings of Egyptians it had held hostage for weeks. The military said the strikes targeted weapons caches and militant training camps. It said the strikes were to avenge the bloodshed and to seek retribution from the killers. The announcement marks the first time Cairo has publicly acknowledged taking military action in neighboring Libya. In a televised address, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi told the nation, "The cowardly actions will not undermine our determination." The Egyptian government has declared a 7-day mourning period and banned all travel to Libya by Egyptian citizens. Libya has also bombed militant targets, and today the Libyan government, as well as the Arab League, the United States, and the UN Security Council, have strongly condemned the killings as barbaric, heinous, and cowardly. Islamic State has taken root in Libya since uprisings in 2011 that toppled and killed longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi. Relatives and friends of the hostages say they were targeted because they're Christians and voted for el-Sisi, who has cracked down on groups labeled as terrorists. The beheading video was the first from an Islamic State group affiliate to come from outside the group's core territory in Syria and Iraq. The killings raise the possibility that the extremist group, which controls about a third of Syria and Iraq, has established a stronghold less than 800 kilometers from the southern tip of Italy. Italy, meanwhile, has temporarily closed its embassy in Libya due to the unraveling security situation there. The United Nations Security Council has unanimously adopted a resolution demanding that Shiite rebels immediately relinquish control of Yemen's government. The rebels have also taken over nearly half of Yemen's provinces in a crisis that has pushed the Arab world's poorest country near collapse. But the resolution, approved by all 15 council members, does not allow for military enforcement. The Houthis' takeover has raised alarms that the world's most dangerous branch of al-Qaeda, based in Yemen, would use the chaos to its advantage. The gunman in the deadly Copenhagen shootings has been identified as a native son of Denmark. Danish authorities have also arrested 2 men for allegedly aiding the suspect. Sonia Artero reports.
Police say the gunman was 22 and born in Denmark. Local media identified him as Omar Abdel Hamid El Hussein. He had just been released from prison 2 weeks ago on a violent crime punishment. He had long been on the intelligence radar for his criminal record of violence and weapons offenses.
Call the police. They are the police.
This amateur video shows the immediate aftermath of the cafe shooting that left 1 person dead and 3 injured. The person killed was a Danish film director, but police believe El Hussein was targeting Swedish artist Lars Vilks. Vilks escaped unharmed, but he had received death threats for depicting the Prophet Muhammad. Police say the suspect met his demise after he shot and killed a Jewish man and wounded 2 policemen outside a synagogue. Cornered by a SWAT team in Norrebro, the attacker opened fire and was killed in a burst of return fire. Police are searching for a motive but believe El Hussein was inspired by Islamic terrorists.
We do not have a specific concrete knowledge about him being a traveler to conflict zones, Syria, Iraq, or other zones.
They also believe he was carrying out a copycat attack, mirroring the Charlie Hebdo massacre in Paris. At a memorial service outside the Danish embassy in France, people were moved by President Francois Hollande.
He said something which I know will touch many, many Danes. France has been hit for the second time, meaning there's no difference between France and Denmark.
A witness to the cafe shooting said if there's one lesson to learn, do not let the terrorists win.
We should be united. We should continue our work. This is our society, democracy, high culture. We should defend it.
Police are also investigating 2 other men who've been arrested for giving the gunman shelter and getting rid of a weapon. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
The Ukrainian government and Russia-backed rebels continue trading accusations over ceasefire violations in eastern Ukraine. At least 5 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in attacks since a ceasefire went into force Sunday. Separatist leaders say the Ukrainian military launched an artillery strike in a town under rebel control. But Ukraine says it was the rebels who did it in order to derail the truce. Pro-Russian rebels also insist they will not observe the truce in Debaltseve, where Ukrainian army forces are encircled. Back locally, a new study from the University of Hong Kong shows that despite the flu vaccine mismatch this year, the protection offered by the current vaccination to children is still good. Evelina Leung reports.
According to University of Hong Kong researchers, 17 in every 10,000 children living on the Hong Kong island have been hospitalized this winter after being tested positive for the H3N2 flu virus. The research team has been studying the effectiveness of the flu vaccine since 2009. It analyzed the cases of close to 300 children who were admitted to Queen Mary Hospital and Eastern Hospital with respiratory problems between mid-December last year and early this month. The medical experts found that among the children who got flu vaccinations, the effectiveness rate was 46%. The experts said the result is not bad, given the flu vaccine mismatch following the World Health Organization's wrong prediction of the most prevalent strains of flu virus.
We know from studies here and overseas that vaccine effectiveness is typically in the range 50% to 70%. And in the previous years, from 2009 to 2013, we reported the vaccine effectiveness in Hong Kong is about 60% in preventing hospitalizations in children. The vaccine is not working as well as hoped this year. But in Hong Kong, we've estimated the vaccine effectiveness is 46%. So that's actually not bad.
The experts called on parents to get their children vaccinated. They added there's no need to wait until April for the H3N2 flu vaccine. Gabriel Leung, Dean of the university's Faculty of Medicine, said only high-risk patients, such as the elderly, need the new vaccine. Since only around 10,000 doses of vaccine against the H3N2 flu virus are expected to be available locally, the vaccine should be reserved for this group of people. Evelina Lang, TVB News.
The Hong Kong government is promising to meet with Beijing officials in a bid to recalibrate visits by mainland tourists. Liz Yun has the story.
The past week has seen demonstrations break out at shopping malls in Tuen Mun and Sha Tin. The focus of these protests has been the grey goods trade. Demonstrators blame parallel traders for affecting local people's livelihood, and they want to cut in the number of mainland tourists to Hong Kong. At a LegCo meeting on economic development today, the Commissioner for Tourism and some lawmakers condemned demonstrators for their behavior.
When they visit Tuen Mun or Sha Tin, if they encounter any unhappy experiences, they might not come back again, and Hong Kong's reputation will also take a hit.
But Kathy Ju also said the government would reflect local views on the issue to Beijing.
We've started communicating with State Council, Hong Kong Macau Affairs Office, so as to reflect views